I talk about a lot of internal disorders, but one of the things that I forget to talk about is, and I'm a chiropractor, is why do you get checked and adjusted? Most people think of it as your neck pain or your low back pain or your mid back pain or a headache or any of that. And we are amazing at getting rid of those things, really. But those are like the oil light in your car. They're not really the problem. And they're pretty easy to get rid of, quite honestly. But what happens when you actually get adjusted? We know from the research that's been done that the upper cervical area, when you adjust that, it stimulates your immune system, calms the stress response, relaxes the upregulation of the sympathetic nervous system. And this is how. So when you get adjusted, it stimulates something called your prefrontal cortex, and that's the part of the brain that inhibits emotions, behaviors, thoughts, chronic pain. Okay? So getting adjusted inhibits that stuff. It's kind of a big deal, but it goes more, right? The prefrontal cortex is the area of your brain that is the most vulnerable to stress. Stress responses trigger that to be upregulated, to be downregulated. So it's going to, when we don't have enough stimulation in the prefrontal cortex, then all the wind up happens. Okay, so we don't want wind up. We want to feel like a Zen Buddhist monk. We want to be calm and peaceful, but deadly when we need to be. Maybe not deadly, but proficient. So when that prefrontal cortex, which is super vulnerable to stress, starts to be dysregulated, then we get a downregulation of the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest nervous system, and an upregulation of the sympathetic nervous system, okay? Because when you get adjusted, it activates the parasympathetic, which inhibits the sympathetic nervous system. So when it does that, it's going to inhibit your heart rate from being high. It's going to inhibit cortisol production. It's going to inhibit adrenaline production, okay? And these are the things that we start to see people having massive dysregulations with blood sugar issues and leading to diabetes, with having downregulations of their gut function because it inhibits function in the GI tract, like etc. So all these internal disorders have this as a root. So when your prefrontal cortex also gets fired from being adjusted, then now if you'll do yoga 5 days a week, it really makes a big difference, right? But if you don't do that, the easiest thing is get adjusted. And when it activates that parasympathetic, it also inhibits that hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis. And that's the axis that drives your adrenal system or your stress response, okay? So it's a big deal. It really matters. And if you aren't getting adjusted, you are missing the single easiest thing to build health, right? It's just not that, it's like a no-brainer. It's like being told, well, kissing feels good, but you don't need to keep kissing once you've figured out it feels good. That's what I always say to people when they say, well, once you get adjusted, you always need to get adjusted. Well, it's like that. Like there are things that I'm going to do that make my body work well because I want to feel great and operate at a high level until I eventually die, right? So if that makes sense to you, make sure you're getting adjusted, okay? Have a good day. Hope that helps.